What's up, everybody? I'm back again. I just did my recap after the UFC 319 press conference. But I wanted to switch gears real quick and get back to the boxing side of the podcast that I want to address. I did a little bit for the Manny Pacquiao, Mario Barrios fight and all that, the Fedora Tim Tszyu fight. But I haven't addressed the big fight that everyone's waiting and talking about, and that is the Saul Canelo Alvarez and the Terrence Bud Crawford fight at 168 pounds for the undisputed super middleweight title of the world. Everybody thinks this is a big fight, and it might be a big fight on paper, but it's not a fight that the boxing public was really clamoring about. Nobody was saying, after Canelo, the performance against Skull, and then after Terrence Bud Crawford's performance against Majimov, nobody was really clamoring about this fight. Like, the boxing peers that I know are the guys who really just follow pure boxing. Like, they don't follow UFC, just the boxing guys. Nobody was calling for this fight. But now here we find ourselves, and this fight is happening, which I'm glad, because Terrence was underneath the thumbnail of Top Rank for so long. They never gave him any respect. They never promoted him properly, in my opinion. I think Bob Arum just had a thing for Crawford, where he just didn't think he was a superstar. But, he is a superstar. He's a very, very special, gifted fighter. But you're only as good as your last fight in the fight world. And his last fight against Majimov was less than spectacular. It was his first fight up at 54 from 47. So we'll backtrack it again. So 47, at 147 for the undisputed title against Errol Spence Jr. I know for a fact I was the only one in my group of the guys that I talk with in our group chats and whatnot, boxing guys, that picked Crawford not only to win, but to stop Errol Spence. And I live in Arlington, which is right outside of Dallas and Fort Worth. Spence is a big deal down here, or he was at least. I just didn't see it happening. I thought Terrence was superior in skills, talent, strength, boxing IQ. I just thought he had him beat from the jump. But granted, this is the thing that people want to overlook. Spence was coming off the car accident, right? Flew out of his Ferrari, damn near got killed. Luckily, he walked away with nothing except for a couple broken teeth. But anybody that watched that fight and saw him walk out knew it was a compromised Errol Spence. I mean, the guy looked like he had just blown a whole bag of weed before he went out. His eyes were red, glossed over. It almost looked like he was lost, like he had never been there before. And I think the fight showed that. Not to take anything away from Bud. He won me money that night. I had bet on the knockout. But I don't think that was the same Errol Spence that fought Mikey Garcia, So, but anyways, he wins. It's the biggest moment for Bud Crawford that night. He deserves everything. Undisputed again at second division. Then he moves up to 54 to fight Majimov. Majimov's style was terrible for him. He moved a lot. His footwork was great. Didn't allow Terrence a lot of counter shots early in the fight. Now Terrence, the champion that he is, made the adjustments, surged back later in the fight. People said, oh, Majimov won, or it was close. I had Bud winning by 1 or 2 rounds. So I wasn't upset with the decision, even though a lot of people were, especially Eddie Hearn. But that's his fighter. He has to do that, right? I respect that. But the telling factor in that fight was that Majimov was able to land the right hand over and over and over and over again throughout that entire fight. Bud can get hit. He does get hit. I mean, he got dropped by Yuriokis Gamboa at 35 or 40, I believe. Granted, Crawford was the same weight, but he's susceptible to getting hit. He'll get chinned. And Majimov was chinning him with that right hand. I think if Canelo lands that same right hand at 68, it's going to be a short night for Terrence Bud Crawford. And yes, Terrence is special, and everybody is making a big deal about, oh, he's getting big, he looks big, he walks around that weight. Any real fighter knows that the weight that you walk around at is not the best weight to perform at. I used to walk around at about 180 pounds, maybe 85, but I fought at 155 pounds. Even walking around at 170, that's not my best performance. You have to be at the weight that you're going to fight at. So if Terrence is trying to carry this extra weight, I think that's just going to hinder his performance. I think if he wants a chance to beat Canelo, he needs to be fast. He needs to have his feet. He needs to be able to move and counterpunch. And if the bigger he gets, it's going to hinder his performance. So I think that if he feels that he needs to put on the extra weight, I don't think it's for him to be stronger. I think he's putting on the extra weight to be able to absorb the shots that Canelo is going to give him, because he knows he's going to get hit. Right? So, and Canelo on the other side, everybody's saying, oh, Canelo is on a downslide. He might be going down a tad. But you have to look at the guys he's fought lately, all the way till he fought Plant to claim and become the undisputed super middleweight champion. He had fought Jacobs in a victory, Kovalev by knockout, Callum Smith to win the first belt. Yildirim was a mandatory. Billy Joe by KO, breaking his orbital bone, collecting 2 titles, and then he beats Caleb Plant in the 11th round to unify all 4 titles at super middleweight, right? Okay, then he jumps up to fight Bivol at 175. He's been there before with Kovalev, stops Kovalev. Bivol, completely different fighter than Kovalev. Counter punches, great defense, busier, good movement. I mean, that Russian style really came through, and he gave Canelo fits. Everybody says Canelo was compromised with injuries. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. I don't know. I'm not buying it. Bivol was the right decision that night. Bivol just beat him. Okay, I'll give Bivol that. Goes back down to 68, Triple G for the third fight. Triple G, he looked older, a little bit slower, but he's still Triple G. Can't knock him out. Can't get him out of there. It is what it is. He gets the victory. Next fight, in Guadalajara, his homecoming, John Ryder. Probably one of the toughest fucking Englishmen I've ever seen. Dropped multiple times. Kept coming, kept fighting. Canelo couldn't get him out of there. Next fight, Charlo. Everybody in the world, from Teddy Atlas down the line, Charlo's too big. He's going to press Canelo. Everybody was picking possibly a knockout or a unanimous decision for Charlo. The whole time I'm watching, I'm thinking, what in the fuck has Charlo shown to make you think he can beat Canelo? Who has he beat? They go out there, Canelo drops Charlo. Drops him. Clean. What does he do? The rest of the fight? Runs, tries to survive. All that shit he talked, that he was going to bring it to Canelo, and then we're warriors, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Didn't do any of it. Felt the power on his bike. Next fight, Jaime Munguia gets dropped. Jaime Munguia is a warrior, but I truly, truly believe that Canelo had mercy on his countryman. Didn't want to finish him. Let him go to 12 rounds. Next fight, September for Mexican Independence Day against Edgar Berlanga. Puerto Rican-Mexico rivalry brought back again. Berlanga talking all this shit. He's going to do this, he's going to do that. What happens? Gets dropped again. After that, what does he do? Just tries to survive. And he looked all of 190 to 200 pounds that fight. He was huge that fight. His back was so wide. His shoulders were big. Still couldn't keep Canelo off him. And he clipped Canelo with a couple big shots too. Canelo didn't flinch. Didn't flinch. Took it, kept coming back. Brutalized him. Then the last fight, of course, Skull. What can you do when a guy's running? you can't finish a guy. How you can barely touch a guy when he's just running for his life. Skull got paid millions, biggest card of his life, and he dropped the ball. He could have showed out and showed some skills and probably went out on his shield if he wanted to exchange, but he didn't. So, I understand. Canelo's like, I'm not going to chase this guy around the ring and try to do all this and that if he's just going to keep running. Like, I understand that. They're both getting paid. It is what it is. Everybody who watched that fight knows that Skull ran. Canelo, easy victory. Bud comes in afterwards. They face off, and now it's a big fight. I love both guys. I'm a huge fan of Canelo, huge fan of Bud. I mean, Bud just hasn't fought the level of competition that Canelo has, in my opinion. He has a couple good wins, but his last, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. His last 10 fights, right? Majamov, Spence, Avansanyan, Porter, Kelbrook, Kavaluskas, Amir Khan, Jose Benavidez Jr., Jeff Horn. Outside of Spence, does any of those jump out at you as a big win? And you could say, oh, well, look at Canelo's. Skull, Berlanga, Mungio, Charlo, Ryder, Triple G, Bivol, Plant, Billy Joel, Yildirim, Callum Smith, Kovalev, Jacobs. And then if you keep going down, you'll get to your Cottos and Floyds and all that, right? Further down. I just don't think they compare. And I think that Canelo has been fighting at a heavier weight for longer, and he worked his way up from 54 to 60 to 68. Bud's going from 47, one fight at 54 that he looked human, like the people thought he might have lost that fight. I don't believe he did, but people thought he did that. And now he's jumping up past 60 all the way to 68. He might be a special talent, but I don't know if he's going to be ready for that power and that pressure that Canelo's going to bring him. I mean, Canelo walked down every single person I just mentioned, and all of them were bigger, stronger than Bud Crawford. And I with that being said, all of those fighters that I mentioned, with the exception of probably Dimitri Bivol, Crawford is a better boxer than them, technical-wise. But those guys all had pop. I don't know if Terence Crawford's going to have the pop to get the respect from Canelo. If it goes 2, 3, 4 rounds and Crawford hasn't landed a shot that gets his respect, I think I'll give it maybe 4 more rounds and then it's done. Canelo is not dissuaded easily. He's going to walk you down and do what he does. And if Crawford cannot hurt him or land something to gain some respect, it's not going 12. So, in my opinion, I think Canelo gets it done. Knockout within 8 rounds. I love Crawford. I love that he's going to get a huge payday. He deserves it. 2-time unified champion. Probably got screwed over by Bob Arum, Top Rank, for many, many, many years. So I'm glad he's finally getting a huge payday. So I think after this, take his L, right off to the sunset, back to Nebraska. Do your thing. You deserve it, champ. But I think Canelo wins, and wins decisively by knockout. So that's my breakdown for this fight. As the fight approaches sooner, I think we're still 40 days, 39 days, something like that away. As the pressers start coming in, conferences, all that stuff, weigh-ins, all that, I'll address it again. So stay tuned. See you guys soon.